All right, everybody, it's the Working Fans Podcast with the man they call Dave. And today I'm talking to a gentleman who's been in the wrestling business for 3 years. He is the current ring announcer for WWN, Michael James. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
Awesome, man. So I'm assuming you were always a fan of pro wrestling, and what was your fandom?
My fandom started probably in the late 80s, early 90s. Grew up with a bunch of friends in my hometown in Ohio. Always used to have get-togethers during the summer. I pretty much created our own wrestling matches. Took the old school WWE trading cards. Used all their information from the back, so their from, their weight, and their monikers and everything. Now I would typically have an old school WWE microphone and would ring announce everybody to come in and do our little shows there and then just watch wrestling throughout growing up, pretty much.
You're putting on these kind of matches and stuff with your friends. You were doing some ring announcing even back then?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. My mom told me I'd been ring announcing in her basement since 5th grade, so.
That's pretty cool, man, because, people usually talk about, there's illusions of grandeur. We all want to be the pro wrestlers and stuff like that. And to hear you say, you're already doing the ring announcing, that's pretty cool. Were you already kind of drawn into the ring announcing?
Yeah, Howard Finkel was the guy that drew me in.
I mean, he's one of the all-time. I think if you look at, just great ring announcers, and I don't even mean just pro wrestling. I mean, across the board, boxing, you name it. Finkel's one of the top guys, period.
Yeah, period, yes.
That's pretty cool. So you were already, practicing, your ring announcer, even as a kid in 5th grade. When did you think you decided, okay, I want to try to break into this?
It was pretty much by luck. I did not know anything about any indie promotions or nothing in Ohio. Went to school, then moved to Michigan, still didn't know anything. Moved down to Florida about 4 years ago. I literally was at a bar in Newport Richey during a karaoke night that my friend invited me to. Ended up meeting August Artois there, and he pretty much asked me if I ever thought about getting the wrestling business. I was like, well, I always wanted to be a ring announcer growing up, but that's about it. And he was like, well, we need some ring announcers. I was like, okay. He's like, just stop by a show. So stop by a Proving Ground show at the old Golfview Mall when I was there. And they didn't need a ring announcer at the time. They had a full-time ring announcer, but they needed a ringside camera person. And I went to school for broadcast journalism and pretty much used that towards it. And then the person that was doing the ring announcer was Rafael Delgado. He became a full-time wrestler, and then a ring announcer spot opened up, and I tried out and got the job.
That's awesome. We were just recording an interview with a Jordan Owens in the Florida scene, and he was talking about a similar path, almost like, hey, I got a camera, or hey, I got, whatever it was. And the idea was, I feel it's the same thing, the same story. Just be prepared and be willing to come in with a good attitude, and you can just get your foot in the door.
Yep, pretty much. By luck.
Yeah, right. Well, I think people don't always like to talk about that because you can work hard, you can have great timing, but you also do kind of need a little bit of luck to kind of get where you need to go sometimes.
So I think August Artois pretty much every day about it.
That's awesome, man. Now, so have you worked for any other promotions outside of WWN?
I have, yes. I've worked for Tampa Bay Pro Wrestling in Tampa. That's Dax the Axe's promotion. Just recently going to be doing the Florida Wrestling Federation. That our show is in February there. And also Generation Championship Wrestling is starting back up. I'm going to be ring announcing their events as well. And then I've done also Pride of Wrestling as well.
That's awesome, man. One of the questions I had asked for you, which I'm kind of curious about, because you admit, it's kind of luck you got in there. I was going to say, it's like you're kind of chasing a dream. What would you say is the biggest obstacle you had then? Just not even knowing that this was a possibility, or?
Pretty much, yeah. I did not know. Didn't even know how to get your foot in the door, period, in wrestling. Right. I always knew about schools, but I didn't know you could actually do that for doing anything outside of being a worker, as in a wrestler or a manager or a referee.
So anyone who's listening, how would you recommend? So if they had an interest in, say, ring announcing, what could you tell them?
Go to a show, get your foot in the door, talk to somebody that runs a show. Trevin Adams has been a big help in my area. He's been pretty much my teacher as well. So yeah, just go to a show, meet everybody, see if they actually need any help, even setting up the ring or setting up chairs or anything. Get your foot in the door and that's pretty much it.
You had mentioned Trevin Adams, even off air to me, what a big help he's been to you and influence. What has been some of the best advice you received in pro wrestling?
That's a good question. Best advice. Be myself. Pretty much be myself.
Yeah, right. I mean, especially I would think as a ring announcer, right? I mean, who else should you be, right? You should be just turned up, right? Yeah, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. I play the character, you know? So
yeah, I try to add a little bit of Finkel and a little bit of Justin Roberts and even Samantha Irvin a little bit, mesh them all together, and then try to add what I can add to the table and be Michael James.
Two things. One, I like you said Samantha Irvin there because obviously she's been killing it. I think, you know, she gets a lot of publicity online and stuff like that, especially for her reactions and everything. So to me, I guess I'm wondering, do you watch a lot of like the mainstream products and do you watch it with a different eye sometimes? Do you take in certain things? Yeah,
I do.
And you try to add it into what you can incorporate. That's great. I mean, I think also too, I was just talking about this with someone else too. Like, you know, LA Knight recently got criticized, right, for being a Rock Stone Cold cosplay. And I saw an interview where he said basically, of course I'm going to have elements of that. Like, these are the people I grew up with. These are people I watch. Like, you know, you're saying basically the same thing. Finkel, Irvine, like they're going to have an influence on you.
Yep, exactly.
That's awesome, man. So far, what would you say in your short time doing this? What would you say is your biggest moment for you personally?
It all came full circle when I announced the FIP main event when August 12 won the FIP World Heavyweight Championship. That all came full circle.
Of course, because he was the man that broke you into this.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. You're happy, I would imagine, with WWN. You sound like things are going well. What would be some other goals maybe for yourself, though, in the future?
Try to get signed by maybe Impact or TNA or even WWE or AEW. That's like been my goal since like 5th grade. That's any kid growing up wanting to be a professional wrestler. That's like their goal to be one of the top promotions.
That's pretty cool, man. Yeah,
I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah, that's important too. Be happy where you're at. You know, you can make a living off what you're doing, even if you're not quite, you know, get to maybe that point, but sure, to get to that next level, whether it's Impact and NWA and MLW, whatever it is, and then of course, sure, anybody's dream, WWE, AEW. I mean, right? I mean, for me, as a kid growing up, I think it was WWE or WCW, and for you, I was similar. Like, I always wanted to be like a commentator. I think I knew even early on, like, I'm probably not going to be a pro wrestler because they looked so big back then too. You know? So we know Howard Finkel was your favorite ring announcer. Would you say Samantha Irvine is your favorite one right out there right now? Or
I like Justin Roberts or even Dave Penzer, but I also grew up watching Gary Michael Capetta as well. Got a chance to meet him.
Yeah, we did a phone interview with him once. Great guy, great stories.
Oh, yeah. Great stories.
That's awesome, man. Well, all right. So is there anything coming up with WWN you want to talk about?
We have Shine 77. That's coming up Royal Rumble weekend on the 28th. We're doing that, and we're doing also a WWN Do or Die showcase. So people that are up and coming, getting in the independent scene or have been in the independent scene for a while are going to showcase their stuff that night as well. 2 shows for the price of 1. That's at the OCC Roadhouse in Clearwater. And then that's at 4 p.m. And then we also, every Friday night, WWN Preview Ground is at Richie Racket in Port Richey, and that's at 7 p.m. Kids 12 and under are free. So cheap night out.
Awesome. Yeah. Great plug. Hey, and is there anything that you want to promote for yourself? And if not, you can do that. And also just tell people social media, where to find you.
Social media, you can find me at Michael James on Facebook. I'm still getting into the Instagram and Snapchat and all that, so I'm still trying to figure that out. And then also you can email me if you want to book me at michaeljamesonthemic@gmail.com. We also have upcoming shows. We have Bert's Rock and Wrestling. It's also at the OCC Roadhouse. That's next Saturday, I believe, from 12 to 4. So in between music sets from bands, we'll have some wrestling action in between the shows there. We're also February 3rd is Florida Wrestling Federation's Valentine to Remember. That's in Tampa at the Pegasus Lounge. That's at 4 p.m. February 10th is Pride of Wrestling 31, My Way or the Highway. That's at 5 p.m. at the Seminole Rec Center in Seminole, Florida. And then February 17th is Generations Championship Wrestling. That's at the Tampa Bay Chocolate Festival at the Golfview Mall in Port Richey. I believe that show is at 4:20 p.m. Yeah, then you can find me every Friday night at WWN Proving Ground in Port Richey, Florida at 7 p.m.
Well, hats off for you remembering all your dates and everything you got coming up. You that impresses me. That's a guy I remember it too. Hell of a job, Michael. Thank you for doing this interview today. We appreciate you taking out a little bit of time in your schedule, man. All right, so as the time of recording this, Michael, we lost, a very important guy in the wrestling community here today, Francisco Ciatso. What was your relationship like with Francisco?
Hanging out with him every Friday night, and then at our shows, got to know him. Always rid me for pretty much like my good first year or two, then started getting his respect and everything, and then just an overall sweet guy. Always cared about his students at the training center, call us his kids, his Proving Ground kids, and so forth. But yeah, he'll be greatly missed.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Obviously, like you said, there's something to when you have to earn that person's respect. It makes that relationship much more stronger. Any memories come to mind too?
He always called me Jim or Jimmy by my real name, just a rib on me, and just slightly little ribs here and there, but overall, all good, pretty much good experiences with him.
Well, fun loving, and our prayers and thoughts go with his friends and his family. Thank you for sharing, Michael. And again, thank you for your time today, Michael.
Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to add that they started to GoFundMe to help cover his funeral expenses. I also put that on my